Frank Warren has truly messed up the heavyweight boxing scene. Tyson Fury has now ducked another opponent and will be vacating that belt and not fighting his mandatory challenger in Dillian Whyte, who has been waiting for almost 3 years for that shot. Okay, let's just get into this. Yo guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're not already, subscribe to Off the Canvas Boxing, like the video, and follow me across all my social media platforms. Links are in the description box below. On a personal note, it looks like I'm at the back end of my quarantine at home because earlier in the week I tested positive for COVID. All symptoms are very minimal, if any, but I'm all good, guys. So thanks for all the messages. Without further ado, let's get cracking. Frank Warren done an interview with IFL TV. Big up IFL TV, big up Umar and Cookie Gassiers. You guys are doing an amazing job, and the rest of the IFL team. Frank Warren done an interview, started off on a downside. He was talking about vaccine passports and saying that it should be mandated. That vaccine, if you want to get into big venues or hospitality or sports, whatever it is, that it should be mandatory to have your vaccine. And I just thought, you know what, man? Like, you can't say stuff like that, man. That's just against any sort of morals and ethics. What? So if you're not allowed to come into my club or my my football match because you haven't had an injection into your arm. Like, that don't make a difference to me. If I want to protect myself, why don't I inject go to the hospital and ask them to inject me to protect me from coronavirus? Not if you're not protecting yourself, then you're not allowed to come into my establishment. That makes zero sense. Okay, and it's against any sort of human rights or ethics or morals with regards to just medical practices. Okay, so I'm completely against that. And then he was talking about the Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. Now, I was so looking forward to this, man. I was really looking forward to this for quite some time. For coming up to 3 years, I was hoping that Dillian gets his title shot, and Deontay Wilder was the one who was just telling him, "Nah, man, we're gonna freeze you out, man. We're gonna freeze you out," and he practically did. And now Dillian Whyte is having a legal battle with the WBC and having an arbitration with them. And Frank was saying that arbitration is ending, or his deadline is March, which basically means that the latest it's going to take 2 months for us to begin negotiations for the fight against Dillian Whyte. And then I said, okay, I'm just thinking, all right, okay, like, it makes sense. I can see where you're coming from, at least, okay. And then he was talking about the 80-20 split, and this is when I was just like, you know what, fam, I have to do a rebuttal with regards to that. Now, the arbitration, I get where he's coming from, okay? But it's very difficult to support that opinion after Tyson Fury's last fight was against Deontay Wilder, okay? And that fight took 18 months for them to get into the ring. So I'm sitting there thinking, if that took you 18 months, and bearing in mind that fight there was an arbitration as well, then an extra 2 months ain't gonna hurt anybody. Is it gonna hurt anybody? I don't think so. I'll give you an extra couple of months to train. They could just start training up a little later. I don't see why not. Tyson Fury could do a couple of tours around the UK singing American Pie. That ain't a problem. I don't see why not. Yeah, it's 2 months. Is it that deep? They could come to an arrangement and an agreement in maybe the first week of January. Fights on now. So all of that, I'm gonna have to take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah, I see where he's coming from, but after the whole Wilder Fury free scenario, I'm afraid that's an unacceptable reason. And then the second one was the 80-20 split that they wanted to propose. The last fight that Dillian fought, okay, and you know what, the reasoning where they said that was because the fight that Dillian had, his last fight, and the fact that Tyson Fury had his last fight, that's the disparity in money generated. And I just thought, bruv, like, that makes little to no sense. Okay, if they went to the fight in the UK, how many people would be interested in that fight from a Dillian Whyte perspective versus a Tyson Fury perspective? We're looking at a minimum 65-35 in my opinion. Okay, and at a bare minimum, okay, 65-35. Okay, 80-20, you're mocking it. Now you're mocking it. Okay, Dillian Whyte last fight was against Alexander Povetkin in Gibraltar in front of 500 fans. Tyson Fury's last fight was in a completely different market, which is in America, which is a more lucrative market. Okay, in front of an available full fan base. Okay, and a pay-per-view price which is about what, $70-80 or something along those lines. So the money generated on both fights isn't reflected on the value provided to both fighters. Okay, I could give you this water bottle, okay, in the UK, and I could say this water bottle is 50p in the UK. Okay, I give you the exact same water bottle in America, and it would say instead of 50p, it'll be £50, yeah, for the exact same water bottle, yeah. That doesn't mean that water bottle is any more valuable in one country than the other than just the price of it. If they were both in the same market, like head to head, with the exact same circumstances, okay, what would the value be? That is what you should base it on. Okay, 80-20, you're just mocking it. Okay, and I know Eddie Howe wants to, and Team White, wants to go to purse bids, but this is why Mirza Suleiman, and this is where they're going into an arbitration. He's not provided Tyson Fury or T White with a split for them to even begin negotiations. Okay, so now they're looking to vacate the belt. Okay, but like that's gonna bring. You could wait 2 months, fight Dillian Whyte afterwards, and then fight for another undisputed title. But you're ready to take a fight in March against Andy Ruiz, okay, which he potentially could lose, and then take another fight with Dillian Whyte in the summer or late of the summer, okay, provided that it's all well and healthy with Andy Ruiz, and then fight for the undisputed end of the year. We could get undisputed to the end, like summer next year, and you want to push it back all the way to the end of next year, okay? Now, you basically delayed the process even longer than it has to be, okay? I know with regards to the rematch clauses, I agree with Frank on this scenario, okay? Rematch clauses, I'm not really for. I think they should have scrapped it as a whole, and people should put more of their eggs into the first fight as opposed to just coming in half-assed in the first fight and then try to win on the rematch, in my opinion. Okay, so I agree with him on that standpoint. But the 80-20 split and the fact that you want to wait an extra 2 months on the arbitration, nah, those are two bad reasons. So what does that mean for Dillian? Dillian, by default, is now the WBC champion. If Tyson Fury vacates, Dillian should be the WBC world champion of the world. Okay, and that means that Dillian Whyte just has to sit there, maybe fight a tune-up fight, and then afterwards fight the winner of AJ versus Alexander Usyk. That's really what should happen. Okay, but I know in the WBC, I know what they're probably going to do. It appears that they're going to probably put Deontay Wilder versus Dillian Whyte as a mandatory slot, okay, and try to do anything that they can just to try to get the belt right back off Dillian Whyte. It's quite evident that that's probably what they're going to do, because if that wasn't the case, then why is Deontay Wilder number one after having 2 losses on after having back-to-back losses. I've never known a guy to have back-to-back losses and still be at number one position. That don't make no sense. Literally, like it baffles me. And I was listening with Frank Warren during the interview, and going back up to Team Fury. This is a heartbreak. This is annoying. But listening to what they were saying, I think Frank is coming across extremely desperate, and this is my reason why. He said, with regards to the Bradley Skeet versus Hamza Shira situation, again, this is another one. Like, this would be like a half an hour video if I just tried to debunk every little thing he said, but I didn't agree with what he said on that part either. He said, then, you know, if it was all a problem, why did he get up and etc. Like, I was 100% against that. That was absolute nonsense in my opinion. Okay, but he said Bradley Skeet and Hamza Shiraz, if they want to have a fight, then they should just come to me and let me know, and then but they have to come to me in the next 48 hours. Huh? 48 hours. 48 hours is 25th of December. That's Christmas, mate. Do you want them to call you Christmas Day and tell them, oh, by the way, mate, we really want to have a fight? Like, come on, man. Like, what kind of foolishness is this? And I don't see what the rush is, especially after the fact that January and February you're not even going to have a show to promote. So what's all this rush about? I don't really get it. Okay. Also, the fact that the Avanesian, so the 48 hours bit, the deadline, I find that a little bit on the desperate side. The Avanesian part and the Jake Paul part definitely was screaming desperation to me. He was saying that, you know, fingers crossed, you know, next year that we can get the Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul fight. And I'm saying, hold on a minute. You're doing your fingers crossed. You're hoping and praying to God, yeah, that your boxer, Tyson Fury's brother, the heavyweight champion of the world's brother, fights a YouTuber next year. Like, I'm maybe I'm missing the plot or something. And I really respect Jake Paul. I think he's great for boxing, okay? But I would expect a promoter who's been in the game for almost 40 years. Well, actually, not almost. He's been in the game for 40 plus years, to be fair. To hope and pray on a YouTube boxer to fight his boxer, who happens to be the brother of the champion of the world. That part don't make sense. And he was talking about Avanesian, and he's seen Avanesian as like a, you know, he said, I'll pay Avanesian. Okay, I'll pay Avanesian to fight on a Matchroom show, and they don't have to pay him a single penny. And to me, that again screams desperation, because okay, Avanesian will cause Conor Benn probably a lot of problems. Okay, potentially could he beat Conor Benn? 50-50 fight. It's a very competitive fight. So you're willing to make a gamble, okay, just so that your fighter beats Conor Benn, generates value, and then builds up your business that way. Okay, that just screams, and you're doing that with Matchroom, and that just screams to me desperation, because I don't see Matchroom willing to do all of those sacrifices to go with your show. So this screams a lot of desperation from Frank Warren. And overall, that was a bad interview, and what came out of it, I'm really disappointed. I wanted to see the Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. I thought this was going to be a huge British dust up. Now we just have to look forward to Dillian versus whoever, probably Deontay Wilder. I won't be too fussed. But thank you for watching this video. I don't like going off on one, but you know, here's what it is, guys. Okay, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Peace, love, and prosperity. I'm gonna see you guys in a bit. Peace.